Everyone, and welcome to a new class. My name is Bilikis and you're welcome to my channel. If you are new, please subscribe and make sure you tap on the notification bell to get a notification each time we put up a video. You can follow me on Instagram, Bilikis Signatures, and on Facebook, Sewing Innovations. Today's class will be on how to make a tulle circle dress or top with applique on it. Like here, I have two options. I'm making use of this tool I have here. You can make use of any color. So now for the applique, I have two options. Is either I make use of this, I could make use of two. So the way this is, the other one could be facing the lower part attached together, or I can make use of this very one. I can just make use of two of these, or I can make use of these two. Can you see that? So you can just be creative about how you go about the applique or whatever you want to use on it. So since I have two options now, I can decide whichever one I want to use. So now we'll go to get started. Then for our online classes, we have them every month. Some are ongoing now. If you're interested, you can contact us through the contact number I'll put in the description box and also in the comment section. It will be the first comment you will see. So now let us get started. You need about 2 to 2.5 yards for this dress, depending on how long you want it to be. It could be a top or a dress, so it totally depends on your preference. So it depends on the length. So but between 2 to 2.5 is just fine. Then it's going to have gathers at the lower part, so it depends on the length. So for me now, I want the total length of the top, so it could pass for a top or a dress to be 32 inches. And I will have to divide it into two. The upper part is going to be 27, while the lower part is going to be 5. So that makes it 32. So I'm going to cut the upper part first, which is 27. And it's going to be folded in form of a half circle, because I told you it's a tulle circle dress. So that is 27. So 27, I'm just going to add approximately 8 to 9 inches to it. So 27 plus 8 to 9 inches is. So that will be 36. As I've said, 27 for the length of the top, and then I said you had approximately 8 to 9 inches to it. That's because of the upper part. So for me, 27 plus 9 will be 36 inches. So what I will do now is this. So this is the starting point from one end. I'll just measure 36. So that's about 1 yard. So that was why I said between 2 and 2.5 is just fine. So 36 is here. Can you see that? So I'm just going to fold over from there. So take your time to fold. So what I did now is to fold over, then trim the excess off. So now I have exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do now is to fold over in a circular form. Then note, we have one open part and then one folded part. So this part will be towards the neckline. That will be the center front. While this open part will be the armhole area. Don't make that mistake. So you can fold it anyhow or any way. Can you see that? So this is how it's going to be. So can you see? So I now have to adjust it so well. So this will be the upper part, while this will be the lower part. Now I folded it and adjusted it so well. So make sure this side is not really facing you. Make sure it forms a triangle on your table. The next thing now is to insert half of your shoulder measurements. Like me, mine is 8.5. I'll just make use of 8. So with your ruler, can you see it's forming a triangle? So it should form a triangle because it is a circle dress. So now since I need 8 inches, I'm just going to adjust that with my ruler. So here now I have 8 inches. That's fine. This might not show so well on my, but I'll move the camera closer for you to see. Since we've gotten the shoulder point now, so the next thing now is just measure 3 inches here. Then come over to the edge here and come down by, let's say, 1.5 inches. Then from there, just connect to the 3 inches point. because it is sleeveless, you don't want to use your exact shoulder measurement. So for the neckline now, you can make use of between 3 to 4 inches. So that totally depends on your preference. So maybe I'll just make it 3.5 here. So this is for the neckline now. Between 3.5 to 4 is fine. Then for the neck depth, it depends. I can just make use of 4. Between 4 to 4.5 is fine. Then I'll get my armhole curve. So I'll now have to connect it with my armhole curve depending on the neckline you want. If you want a V, something like this. So whatever neckline you want. So the neckline has been done. So now going over to the shoulder width now. Because it's sleeveless, but because it's a circle dress and it's free, so you don't want it peeking out of your shoulder. So between 2 to 3 inches is just fine. Along the slope now, not on this very line. So between 2 to 3 inches. So from the end of the neck width now, I'm just going to measure 3 inches. You can even go as far as 2.5 or even 2. So that depends on your preference. So from here, 3 inches is what I have here. Hope you can see that. Then I'll just have to place my armhole from there. Now for the armhole curve, usually my half of my armhole is 8.5, but since it's a tulle net, so I can maintain the same 8.5, or better still, I can just make it 9. So it depends on how free or open I want it to be. So from the initial shoulder line, I'll just measure 9 inches. Can you see that? Then place my armhole curve. Can you see the way I place it? Then I can just curve it out. So we are good to go. So that is it for the upper part. So when cutting it, I'll just add my seam allowance. So now going to the length of the top or dress you want. For me, it is 27. So from this point now, I'm just going to measure 27. So I'm going to move it to the middle here again. Can you see? This is where the neck width stops. 27. So now when I get to somewhere around here, I'm not going to move the measuring tape any further. I'm just going to station it at this part and then keep rotating it. Can you see? At the point where the neck width stops. Because with that, you won't have this part being longer than the other one. So it's a little bit higher than the front. So that was why I did that. So now that's the length of my dress. Because looking at it, if I had done this, if I brought it forward here, 27 is going to be here, which will not be fine because it's going to be peeking out. It to be longer than that of the front. And normally it should be a little bit higher than the front. So that was why I used that trick over there. So the next thing is to cut it out. Cut it up, starting from the lower part. Looking at the lower part, I'm adding like 1/4 inch to it. 1/4 to 1/2 inch. This is for joining into the lower part. So that's why I'm doing that. Then coming over to this area, first the neckline. You see that? Then I'll have to open this folded part. Now can you see that? So let me show you what it looks like. So that's looking beautiful already. And you see, so this is the neckline and this is the armhole area. It's a free top. So having done that, we are going to finish it up with a bias strip. So let me quickly show you how to cut the lower part that will be gathered around the tulle hem. Now I've cut out a long strip of fabric. It's not necessary you have yours just one long piece. You can join several pieces together, so you don't need to worry or panic about that. So now I have 2 here. Let me measure here. So here I have 38 inches. 38 inches times 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 38 times 4. That will give us 152 inches. So for this length now, I have 152 inches. One of these. Then this also is 152. So what I'm going to do now, then I forgot to show you the length. I only told you the width of one, which is 152. That should be by 5.5 inches. Can you see that? So that ½ inch will be to add it back to the main bodies. Because remember I told you I want the total length of my top to be 32. So 27 for the upper part and then 5 inches for the lower part. So that's why I have the length by 5.5. So now what I'm going to do next is to take one edge and get the other edge. You see? Then I will now have to sew this up with a zigzag stitch or a straight stitch. If you are using a straight stitch, just run it twice. 1, 2. So a zigzag stitch, just run it, and after running it, you have just one long strip of fabric. Then you just have to gather it up. While gathering the lower part, so for the upper part now, I've cut out the applique. Can you see that? So this is what I'm going to have. So before that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to hem the shoulder area. I'm going to have to hem both shoulders, then use this bias strip to finish the armhole area and also the neckline. Right now I've hemmed the neckline and the armhole area. So when I was drafting, I forgot to explain that to you. If you want a higher neck, I'm not a fan of a high neck. You don't need to do as much as I did, both in neck width and then neck depth, because you are working with tulle and then we drafted on bias. So every little measurement, it tends to be wider. So please, if you want a high neck, but I am not a fan of high neck, so I like it dropping and wide. Then I've hemmed it now with the bias strip. So now, before joining it by the side and attaching the gathered fabric, what I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to place this. This is the wrong side. You can just put a very light interfacing if need be, just to give it some stability. So I'm going to use my zigzag stitch now to just stitch it all around. Can you see the way I place it? You can make it overlap. So it depends on how creative you can get with your applique. So now, I don't know yet. Maybe I'll just make an overlap or just separate it. It depends on what I want. So the next thing is to use my zigzag stitch, opening just the front panel. Then I'm just going to sew it up at the edge. So that is the applique to the tulle net. Can you see all around at the edge? So that's what I'm going to do. After doing that, then I can close up the sides. I've sewn the sides now, as you can see. So we have our top ready, looking so beautiful, and this has been glued down. So now this is my gathered fabric. I've just gathered it to the size of what I have at the hem. Then remember I made use of 152 inches times 2. Trust me, I had to double it because I did not have the fullness I had, so I had to make it 4. So I have 152 inches times 4 to achieve this fullness I have here. So can you see that it's looking so beautiful? So what I'm going to do now is that, since I've ascertained that the measurement I have here is equivalent to what I have at the hem, so I'm just going to close this side and then sew it up to the hem of the top or dress, and that is it. So let me quickly do that. The outcome of the dress we just made, either a dress or a top. You can see how lovely it looks. When making yours, make sure you use a matching thread to make yours. So try to make yours and share with us on our Facebook group, Sewing Innovations, and tag me on Instagram, Bilikis Signatures. And for those interested in the online classes at the tools, I'll put the contact number in the description box below. So see you guys later. Bye.